Okay, we are here with Karar Al Mafrage, independent scholar, diligent student taking PPU, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, that's correct.
And you have a relatively new master's thesis that you completed. I'd like you to start off by telling us what that was about.
Thank you for the lovely introduction, Mike. Um, yeah, so my thesis was about how dystopias and utopias and the definition of these words, both in the literary sense and in in common parlance, shall we say, has shifted. And um, and it was specifically in reference to and in comparison between Brave New World and Ready Player One. Um, and so
Which is the Cline novel that
that is correct. It is, yes,
about
by
4 years
Ernest
ago.
Cline.
4 years ago.
Yeah, or I think it's from 2016, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, even longer.
Uh,
And then Spielberg turned right around and made a movie out of it.
yes, exactly,
Oh,
exactly.
right.
Um, so what I wanted to examine was uh, the sort of the birth of posthumanism uh, as an ideology. It was inspired by reading um, *Sapiens* and *Homo Deus* by Yuval Noah Harari, which sent me down the rabbit hole of Ray Kurzweil and the other technologists and futurists and those kind of optimists.
Right.
Um,
Just for my students, Kurzweil is the singularity guy.
yes, that
Okay.
is correct. The author of *The Singularity is Near*, and he's often hailed as a sort of tech prophet because he's always sort of on the dot with his predictions.
Yeah.
Um, so so my thesis was just um, I simply wanted to um, sort of look at uh, if there has been an actual uh, change in the cultural narrative around what a dystopia and utopia is. And the reason for that was because I found the the post-humanist language and the techno sort of the technologies to be utopian in nature. Um, it was there were a lot of promises and a lot of if that there's a rhetoric of uh, oh um, this is a matter of fact where we only have to accept this never-ending march of progress,
Yeah.
and this is the end result of evolution. And so there's a sort of a conglomeration of narratives going on there. Um, Everything from sort of a computational universe approach to cybernetics to a uh, a lot of different competing um, ideas that sort of they all merge into posthumanism, which I found very interesting.
Mm. Uh, we're going to go a little bit off script and have a little conversation before I get to the second phase cut on. You've read both Homo Deus and *Sapiens*
Yes.
by Harari.
Yeah.
Uh, do you think that he, first of all, is this posthumanism inevitable? And second of all, do you get the sense, as a careful reader and an avid consumer of this stuff, that he wants it to happen?
Um, oh, well, to answer the first question, um, I don't necessarily think it is inevitable. I think it's very tempting, um, especially if you look um, uh, at it from sort of a realpolitik and an economical incentive point of view. There is a lot of incentive um, to create the first artificial general intelligence.
Yeah.
There is a lot of incentive to uh, be uh, the first to sort of really revolutionize biotechnology, or to make nanotechnology cheap and available.
Yeah.
And so I think that these are um, the most pressing concerns that we need to be talking about, and to be holding our politicians accountable for. Um, and also, and yeah, I definitely sense. I think there is a sort of there's an uncanny valley sort of notion to Harari's writing, where I do think there is this the it's a combined mixture of awe and dread.
Yeah.
I don't think he wholeheartedly loves the notion, but I think that he's sort of accepted it uh, also way too willingly.
Mm. Yeah, and provided some significant advice for us should it go in that direction.
Yeah, for sure, definitely. And I think that that does not need to be underestimated. I think that to Harari's credit, if and I don't know, your student might not have read the Singularities Near or anything else by Ray Kurzweil, but I do recommend it. But the works of him and Hans Moravec and all those other sort of gurus of MIT, they I mean the rhetoric is totally different. There is no there is no sort of sounding the alarm or consideration for how power relations comes into play here. There's just evolution, technology, and what they present as the inevitable logic.
Mm.
So yeah, I
But
definitely.
may I suggest that we could be facing the difference between a historian and a technician? Because as far as I know, Harari doesn't have any patents in his name, and I'm pretty sure Kurzweil has at least a dozen. Uh,
Yes, yeah, definitely.
I think I think at once upon a time I bought his voice recognition and transcription software.
Yeah,
This would have been right at the turn of the century. So he's been on the cutting edge of a lot of this stuff, particularly human computer interface in practical terms.
definitely,
Uh,
definitely.
how about when I know it's been a long time since you, or it might be been a long time since you've read it, Brave New World now by Aldous Huxley. But
Mhm.
I seem to recall part of your project was to historicize the world that Huxley was in.
Yes.
Why don't
Um,
you just say a few words about that for us?
yeah. So I think that what I truly loved about Brave New World, and what really makes Aldous Huxley a genius, was the and the sort of the balancing act between um, uh, the dystopia and utopia right then and there, because um, because of his recognition of the tendencies of human nature, uh, but also how power comes into play, um, and just that that you never know which side he's actually leaning on because of it, the brilliant satire. So with that said, I think yeah, definitely the historical context of the work is tremendously significant because um, this was the interwar period, um, and and uh, I don't think that it was too early to see what the developments in Germany were leading to. Uh, but what I do, there was a clear sort of disdain for totalitarianism,
Mhm.
and there was the already then the totalitarian sort of um, revolution happening in the Soviet Union, which he was when you read Huxley's letters, he was sort of tremendously affected by. Um, but the interesting thing about his paranoia, shall we say, is that it's he creates this union between the ultra capitalism of the conveyor belt
Right.
with Henry Ford and the modern industrialization of the previous century, the Roaring Twenties and the American consumerism at its sort of most rambunctious, with uh, the totalitarianism of um, of the Soviet Union. Um, there is this, and I think that is what sort of that is what Mustafa Mond and the world government is that marriage between totalitarianism uh, as applied to capitalism and to and sort of the ideology of American consumerism, uh, if it was run by these um, uh, well, he called them the Brahmins.
Yeah,
uh,
the technocratic elites.
exactly.
Yeah.
And so there was but it was also a period of um, sort of ingenuity in the sciences. I mean, the breakthroughs happening in physics and in biology with the with Mendel, and so for the first and so biology was sort of really coming into its own uh, during the 20s and 30s in the previous century, and and I think that is why Brave New World is a biological dystopia. That there is, I mean, the metaphor is all too um, explicitly stated with the mechanization of the body. But um, I also believe that that was a product of the time.
Very good. Thank you. Um, uh, would you like to say a little bit about Cline's vision? I mean, now we're going close to 90 or 80, 87 years later. Uh, it well, Ready Player One is not a is not a biological novel.
No, definitely not. Yeah, so I think that the well, uh, I think the brilliance of Ready Player One um, lies again, and I think that that's sort of the something that I struggle with and sort of embraced in my thesis was that both of these novels were doing this balancing act, and I think that the same is happening in Ready Player One, in that there is this well, it is a dystopia. The world has fallen apart due to ecological disaster and just um, and human neglect. And so I think the premise is it's a bit flawed, but it works as a young adult novel. But the brilliance of it is in navigating the virtual space as both physical and non-physical, real and unreal at the same time. Um, and that is the central conflict of the novel, where Wade Watts, or Parsival as he's known in the virtual, or the Oasis, um, sort of he's struggling to disentangle um, the essence of his identity from um, the virtual. But at the same time, I think that and I think the novel, to its credit, sort of highlights how this technology at its best might function to uh, help and uplift humanity. Uh, but there is no such thing as a free lunch, and I think that that there is this. I think the oasis is the metamorphosis of uh, the social media algorithms. It's just how do we, as simple biological creatures, navigate these extreme temptations?
Yeah, and machinery that's designed to press our buttons. You know,
Yes,
and one of the
exactly.
things I enjoyed about I did not see the Steven Spielberg movie, but I can almost imagine it. There is a little bit of a hero story that goes on here. I think you even
Yeah,
mentioned Campbell's monomyth when we were talking about it anyway.
yeah, definitely. It is. I mean, it definitely follows the traditional Bildungsroman
Yeah,
tropes. It's all there to be found.
yeah. In closing, our last section now. Look, you read all the heavies because you had to, also because you wanted to. Let's face it. Uh,
Yeah, definitely.
how do you think the prognostication is doing? Now, of course, Harari has gone over into a more generic liberal world order boosterism, but he still has Homo Deus and he still has Sapiens, still in print, by the way.
Mm.
Sapiens, by the way, is out as a two-part graphic novel.
Wow, I didn't
Yeah,
know that.
horribly expensive. I mean, even for me. Good marketing move though.
Yeah,
Uh, so obviously he's got some appeal there, and Kurzweil is practically I mean, just his name is sort of an icon for ideas.
yes.
Um, and I count on you had your eye on the ball very much in the last 6 months or so. So I guess how are they doing? What do we got to watch out for? What do we got to keep our eye on?
Um, I think it's really it's really difficult to say, because I think that um, I think that history is has its own narrative, and I think this. this might be one of those moments in history we might look back at and wonder um, how it went totally the other way than we might have expected. Because what I do think that there is too much self-assuredness in the post-human narrative, and I'm while it is tempting to uh, upgrade our brains and upgrade our immune system, I think that these questions will have um, practical um, uh, value and and I mean, just the most obvious example would be this recent debate around AI and ChatGPT. Uh, and just in my specific context, working in education, it's a very lively debate. But these technologies will provide um, fantastic opportunities for us, but they come with a price. They come with an ethical dilemma uh, that we have to navigate at all times. And um, there is now I didn't put too much effort into reading up on it, but I do remember um, hearing about this moratorium on AI and ChatGPT, where a lot of top scientists and just intellectuals were signing, including Max Tegmark and Elon Musk and all of the big guns. And so I do think that it is high time that we have this debate. Uh, but I think that and hope, truly hope, that this will be a process of reflection at every corner.
Yeah. I'm delighted to hear you say we, my friend, because you're going to be among the people who are going to have to be watching out for this and helping us to make these decisions. Karar, thank you very much for your time, sir. Any final thoughts before we shut off the recording?
Just thank you for this opportunity, and thank you for having these conversations, uh, for doing this this course at the university. I think it's very important, and yeah, we need to continue having these conversations.
Yeah, and I look forward to our conversations in the future, sir.
Thank
And with
you.
your
Likewise.
permission, I'm going to shut off the recording.
Thank you.
And